Pathway to happiness. The voice in my head. What is voice in my head and how it has a life of its own? Where did the voice come from and why is it so hard to make it be quiet? Do you ever notice the voice in your head has a lot of self-judgments? How come when I try to turn off the voice in my head, it doesn't seem to work? For most people, the mind has developed into something that does incessant describing, comparing, and judging. When I didn't have any awareness, I didn't notice how busy it was all the time. When I noticed it, I just assumed that it was me thinking. I didn't think of my thinking as judgmental. I just thought that my opinions were the right ones. Because I was comfortable with my opinions for a long time, they didn't bother me. But then, in times of stress, when the voice in my head would keep me up at night, I began to notice things were out of balance. Most everyone has this type of chatter in their mind to varying degrees. The difference is that some people identify with it and feel it is them. Other people realize that their mind has taken on a life of its own and decide to do something about it. One of the most helpful things in this process of quieting the voice in your head, the voice, is to realize where it came from and what it is doing there. Understanding the origins of the voice will help you let go of judgmental reactions during this process. Understanding your own thinking is so important that my mentor, Don Miguel, wrote The Voice of Knowledge devoted to this subject. Understanding the voice in your head. One of the first steps to eliminating self-judgments and chatter is to recognize that the voice in your head never means you any harm. It may be the source of self-criticism and unkind comments, but that was never its intent. Believe it or not, it originally developed to help us feel emotionally safe and happy. It is usually operating under the premise that it is trying to protect us. The inner voice of self-judgment developed in a young mind with the merging of memory and logic. Before memory and logic develop, we stay in present moment where there is only the desire and actions to express ourselves. Before memory and logic, if we wanted to go outside and play, we would run outside and play. Later, Mom might tell us to pick up our toys, and we still might run out and play. But as memory developed, we could recall Mom scolding us in the past for not cleaning up our toys. With logic, our mind would link the cause and with the painful effect of being punished. Then, one time running outside to play, we would see our toys, and little voice in our head would remind us, I should pick those up. The voice was an echo from memory trying to tell us how to logically avoid the emotional pain of punishment. Sometimes after being punished or feeling something unpleasant, an agreement like, I should have picked up my toys, gets stored in the memory also. The voice was learning and reminding us what to do in order to be happy. Our memory was also storing all the suggestions from the voice to be repeated back to us later when we need it. We learn to follow the voice in order to avoid breaking other people's rules that would get us punished. The voice couldn't know the future, but it echoed a rule from the past of what would cause us pain. In this way, the voice in our head always lived in the past and projects assumptions of the future. It keeps us from experiencing the present moment. The voice also told us what to do in order to get rewarded with attentions and love. I should clean up my room, eat my vegetables, be quiet, stay in line and get good grades. Do these things and people will like you, accept you and love you. Do these things and you will be happy. The voice echoed all the right rules based on the punishments and rewards stored in memory. As a young child, we saw adults as very unpredictable, so we began to trust the little voice in our head more than anyone else. Even our parents, who love us, couldn't be completely trusted because they would also punish if we did something wrong. Maybe we got blamed and punished for what our brother did and concluded that we couldn't trust mom or dad with the truth. The voice in our head was the guide to emotional safety in a world of bigger people who had the power to punish us and take away our rewards. We created that voice in our head by building memory with the rules. We invested a lot of faith in the voice as something we could trust in an uncertain world. It became like a guardian angel speaking in our mind, telling us what to do. We gave it great authority and power over our choices and trusted it to be right. The voice grew and learned to look at things in our past and gave interpretations of what we should have done and shouldn't have done. It gave us advice about our future and what we should do and should be. Its opinion was built with the intelligence of our own logic. It drew on every memory for evidence. Later in life, the voice sounds like us speaking and thinking, when it is only the echoes of memory that have come alive. Sometimes we mistakenly put our trust in the voice from memory and think we are trusting ourselves. We lose our identity and follow the rules of shoes and children echoing from the past instead of being in the moment. When we continue with this approach to life, we create problems as we get older. When we were young, our emotional well being was based on how other people reacted to us. The logic rules we created were based on the rewards and punishments given out by others. But as we got older, people didn't punish and reward us the same way or at all. We would work hard at something, but no one would notice and no one would reward us. At the same time, we might feel a fear or nervousness that someone would do something against us if we didn't please them. Wondering about what other people think of us is a clue to these past patterns. We are trying to please others with our rules of should from the past. Other problems develop with faulty logic and illusions in the mind. Problems also arise because many rules in the mind were based on faulty assumptions. Mom might be upset at something else in her life, but snap at us when we ask for something. The interpretation from the voice would say, I shouldn't ask for what I want. We incorrectly assume that we were at fault and store that false belief in memory. Perhaps mom is kind and wants to say yes, but has the good sense not to give us the pony that we asked for. Our disappointment is painful and the logic is distorted with the agreement. Asking for what I want early leads to pain. The mind mistakenly assumes our asking was the cause. It wasn't aware of the emotional attachment exceptions or of the practical aspects of keeping a pony. The voice wouldn't include these understandings. It assumed that everything was about us and only noticed that we asked. Even if the voice made it about someone else, she shouldn't be that way. Memory stored that rule for us to follow as well. If we had a broken heart, the voice would make rules so we didn't get hurt again. It would declare, all men are, or women are all the same. It would spell off a whole gender as a solution to not feeling emotionally hurt. Falling in love just leads to heartbreak. It made declaration not based in truth. Later in life, the rules makes us afraid of expressing our love and asking for what we want. There was no other part of our mind monitoring it for exaggerations and common sense in those moments. We had trusted its logic imperative for so many years, we didn't question the exaggerations of faulty logic. We agreed to the rules with no considerations for how it might limit our happiness and choices for the rest of our life. Perhaps a second heartbreak would bring a hatch criticism such as, I knew better and I didn't listen to myself. I am such an idiot. As we got older, we learned to accept harsher and harsher comments from the voice. The harshness was accepted under the assumption that the criticism might make us obey the rules so we didn't get hurt anymore. We are sold on the logics of following the rules of the punishing voice as the path to emotional safety and happiness. Sometimes, as adults, we become so busy following the rules we don't stop to wonder if they are true. No other part of our mind had been assigned to limit self-criticisms. We continue to live in the paradigm that the voice in our head was there to have us happy, even when it isn't true anymore. We invested the personal powers of our faith in the voice for so long that it took on a life of its own. It runs repeatedly with self-judgments and chatter completely separate from us. It is no longer a helpful guardian angel because it is largely our own voice programmed into memory we don't recognize as a separate entity. We usually don't see it as separate being until we are stressed and can't sleep at night because of its chatter. We spend our energy trying to satisfy its rules, hardly noticing many of those rules contradict each other. We should go after that promotion. Conflicts with, I should spend more time with my family. I want to ask her out. Conflicts with fear of her saying no. Amidst this chaos in the mind, we forget that all the rules were intended to bring us happiness in our life. Yet emotions like love and joy hardly have room to be felt amidst this insensate chatter of what we should do and shouldn't do. At this point, our guardian angels has fallen into made fear-based and false beliefs and spends time yelling them at us. Freeing ourselves from the falling angel. For some people, the life crisis comes when they found out they follow all the rules in their mind and didn't end up happy like their little voice assumed they would. For others, midlife crisis and disillusionment may not even be enough to challenge the false rules in their head. You might just make new rules and opt for new toys or a new mate instead. The reality to accept is that the voice in your head does not know how to be happy. It only knows what is stored in memory from the past about how other people would react. It knows how we should have behaved in the past in order to get the best reaction from people in the past. It has knowledge of what we have to do for others to accept us, but not about how to accept ourselves. The voice does not know how to express love or joy or laugh. We can free ourselves from the faulty logics of the mind by choosing not to believe its rules anymore. But the voice will not go easily. Just the thought of being without that voice can bring up fears. We are powerful creators, and have made it strong by investing our faith in it for many years. Even though you can't seem to move it at times, it is not stronger than you. It is like a large tree in your garden that has been there for years and grown roots. You may not be able to pull it out in with your hands in a day, but with some tools and time, you can create a way. It may appear stronger in a moment, but you have time, intent, and faith on your side. All you need is to add is some tools to take care of the job. We will challenge the rules when we are tired of being unhappy. We will let go of the mind when we no longer accept the illusions of emotional safety that it offers. We will challenge the voice in our head when the fear of suffering under its faulty logic is greater than the fear of being without its illusion of protection. We will defy the faulty logics when we realize it is based in fear and we don't want to be afraid anymore. Our desire to be happy is the force that will propel us to personal freedom from the voice in our head. The path to emotional integrity and harmony with your mind is through awareness, acceptance, and forgiveness, something the voice in our head knows nothing about. We begin to discover for the first time that our happiness in life has little to do with other people's reactions and more to do with expressing our own emotions of love. The rules the voice in your head have you follow do not usually direct you to follow your heart and do what you love. Fortunately, there is a lot more to our being than just a thinking voice. We have many other dimensions that we can look to for guidance in overcoming the voice in our head and creating happiness in our life. Let go of the judgments about the voice. Whether you realize it or not, the voice in your head has been doing the very best it could do to guide you to be happy and successful. However, it has been operating on an outdated set of guidelines that no longer apply. Its intent has always been for our happiness. However, its methods have become exaggerated to the point of being abusive. Understanding this is a big step towards quieting that voice. It will allow you to let go of your complaints and judgments about the falling angel. Recognizing that it did the very best that it could will help break the judgment you have about that voice. With an understanding that it never meant you any harm comes the opportunity for acceptance and compassion. Acceptance and compassion for yourself is an important first step towards the redemption of a falling angel that lives in your head. The end.